Yesterday, as we record this is being recorded on a Saturday, Vince McMahon resigned from WWE and more specifically the TKO board. Yeah. And there's a lot to say about this. Would you like to start off, or would you like me to give you all the latest news first to react to?
Yeah, let's get the latest, because like traveling yesterday, like when it first started breaking, it was almost hourly. There were new points coming out, and then I was driving all day yesterday. So I'm sure there's probably been at least a few things that have come out that I hadn't had a chance to catch up on yet. So bring me up to speed, please.
Okay. The lawyer for the lady in question, Janelle Grant, was on a legal podcast, essentially. She didn't really add much to it, and luckily I didn't write down any of the quotes for that. But the latest news is about 10 hours from when we record this, Vince McMahon has resigned. Nick Khan of WWE and TKO said, "I wanted to inform you that Vince McMahon has tendered his resignation from his positions as TKO Executive Chairman and on the board of TKO Directors. He will no longer have a role with TKO Group Holding or WWE." That was an internal email that was made public to everybody relevant, and Vince McMahon has made a statement as well, saying, "I stand by my prior statement that Ms. Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and is a vindictive distortion of the truth. I intend to vigorously defend myself against these baseless accusations and look forward to clearing my name." And then he said, out of respect for WWE and TKO, he has resigned on that basis, effective immediately. Previous news was that TKO's response originally was that there was going to be an internal investigation into Vince McMahon, as I'm sure you'll expect. And one of the bigger bits of news that could have a knock-on effect is that Slim Jim has paused advertising with WWE. They were going to sponsor, as we record this, tonight's Royal Rumble match, and they've now pulled out, paused, essentially. Slim Jim values integrity and respect in all of our partnerships. Given the recent disturbing allegations against Vince McMahon at this time, we've decided to pause our promotional activities with WWE. This decision reflects our commitment to our brand values and responsibility to our community. The only other thing is that, as of now, as we record this, the Royal Rumble press conference is still going ahead. But maybe they might want to cancel that.
Yeah, I could very well. Well, first of all, I did know all of that except the Slim Jim part. So that's the part that popped in after I was on the road. I'm just sitting here wondering, as you were saying that, with this recently announced $5 billion deal with Netflix, that was my first curiosity that popped into my head. When I heard this, is like, this deal's pending. Never read one sentence of it. Was told it had a 5-year an out clause after 5 years.
Yep.
So, I'd be curious to know, again, not being an attorney, because this is the kind of stuff, like, if it's validated, if it turns out, because let's phrase with allegations, right? These are all allegations at this point. Being a constitutional guy here in America, everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And, let's assume on both sides of the fence, let's assume the girl's not telling the truth. And this is going to, clearly has already done some damage to that brand. Now, how quickly they can bounce back. And let's assume that Vince did it. The girl's right. This is the kind of thing that, as we know in this world today, destroys people's lives, So this is, like I said, the other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, with just how big this is. And at one point, I don't know what it is now, but a few years ago, WWE was the 6th most recognizable brand on the planet. So this is going to catch eyeballs all over the world. Vince McMahon is a worldwide figure because of WWE. And, certainly not going to be on par as far as import as, like I said, the OJ trial. But this is probably going to be the closest equivalent that kids that were born after that are going to see. It's just a fascinating thing. And, I'll just muse for 1 second on my soapbox. We've talked about this before. I've talked about it in multiple other shows and interviews. When you are in a bubble, it's very easy to lose sight of what the reality of the world around you is. And I'm not saying this as my nod of approval to it, but in wrestling, we live in a bubble. especially in a company as big as the WWE. And some of those people take that to meaning things like we can do pretty much whatever we want, and we're going to be protected. And there's plenty of stories out there, and I'm sure many of them accurate as to the examples of that from guys in the business. Vince McMahon has he has entered that rarefied, stratified portion of the human population that very, very, very few people in history have ever breathed that air. You could see how something like that, as successful as he's been, as powerful as he's been, that you could have a sense of entitlement and impervious, because this fiefdom called the WWE is my kingdom, and I can do whatever I want here. And nobody it's like the people in the interview room that day doing the vignettes that had just said my way was better. Vince came in and suddenly his way was better. So, the employees there have a very, I don't know if it's something that goes out in a memo or if it's just, acknowledged that whatever Vince says goes. And, so just the opportunity when you have that kind of money to put layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of protection and alibi or whatever else. That said, there are certain things about Vince that I'm hearing from friends of mine. I never knew Vince quite that well, but about being a clean freak, so the defecation thing in his office seems like if you're a clean freak, I don't think you'd want to have, feces floating around your office. But again, who knows what goes through people's heads. And I just wrapping up with this. It's going to make a hell of an interesting year or two, whatever it's going to take for this to go on, because this is going to take on, with all the nuances of quote unquote sports entertainment, this is going to take on its own life. You can already see the memes writing themselves, right? I mean, it's going to be.
I've been sent quite a few, I must say. But you know what? You mentioned two things there, like Bill Cosby,
Sure.
Harvey Weinstein. Donald Trump has had a lot of accusations. He just lost a big defamation suit as well, in fact, yesterday as we record this. Some people who sort of rise to the top have fame, fortune, a sense of entitlement. And it seems with Vince, because there are so many, when they say there's no smoke without fire kind of thing. I mean, I really don't like that saying, because it's not fair sometimes to say that. But with Vince, there are so many NDAs, there are so many accusations, there are so many rumors going around him. You can't see the fire for the smoke. There's just decades of accusations, and there's nearly $20 million out just in NDAs of the women who allegedly were assaulted, because we always have to say allegedly, we always have to qualify that, and rightly so. That how many more are there out there? Will more women have the courage to, assuming all this happened, of course, come out and share their stories as well?
And my guess would be yes. I mean, and again, no inside information, but a leopard doesn't change his spots and a tiger doesn't change his stripes, right? So if you've done it once and gotten away with it, and I think underscoring this as just like sort of the bedrock to all of this, in support of what you're saying, is that we already now know that Vince was basically stealing money from the company to pay a lot of these people off. So his character's already impugned. And, it's, when I see the mea culpa, I look forward to doing that. I mean, that's just standard, boilerplate comment of what you have to say in a situation like this. But yeah, it's, it surprises me that here we are, 3, 4, 5, 6 years after this whole Me Too movement starts, and leveled that a lot of that playing field. I thought that when that first started happening, because we've heard things in the industry, and wonder, like, are these women going to start coming out of the woodwork? And there seemingly weren't. Like, a couple little things popped up here and there, but it sort of weathered over it, and Vince went through it sort of unscathed. Which, to those of us in the business, we were like, how the hell did he pull that one off? To be able to get through all that. And, again, I'll plead my naivete. When we found out that there was an FBI investigation, I just assumed that was over the embezzlement money and, the payoff money and everything.
Well, actually, because you mentioned that, this is a civil suit. This isn't a criminal suit. So would the FBI get involved with a civil suit like this?
Well, no, but they might very well. We're seeing a lot of U.S. agencies right now do things outside the boundaries, and would they, being that Vince is aligned a certain way politically, that would there be some back channel, hey attorney, here's some papers, you didn't get them from us type of thing. I don't know, but this is the kind of thing. Remember when I said, and I don't know if it was on here with you, James, or one of the other podcasts or some other interview, whenever Vince came out of the steroid trial, back in the 90s, and ripped the neck brace off instead of Vincent McMahon, and I said, this is why you don't poke that bear. Just stay to the high road. You look forward to getting back to work and putting a great product out. But by doing that, all you do is you get that whole agency going, fangs out, and we'll sit and wait like wolves in sheep's clothing. And it's going to be a lot of time for him to second guess a lot of the stuff he's done. But Vince, he's an intelligent guy, and he's an incredibly successful guy. I got my personal differences with him aside. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. And, this woman's attorney, who I have no idea who it is, but are they going to be up for the challenge of going against that Goliath? The Goliath of, even though he's not part of TKO and WWE supposedly anymore right now, Vince is a formidable a person in that way, and he will come out swinging, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'll say this: if this happened, again, these are allegations at this point. If this happened, kudos to this young girl that she came out and stood up for herself. If it didn't happen, to propone for Vince as little as I like to. This will have done some bit of damage to him, because there's always people, and I think there's a lot of evidence to it, that'll say, he's a billionaire, that's why he got off, or he knows Donald Trump is white, or he knows this or that or whatever. So I'm just sort of fascinated just sitting and watching. I love this kind of stuff, just the nuts and bolts of the law of it, and what the Constitution says. Pertaining to this kind of thing. So going to be, I think that, Orville Redenbacher is going to be seeing their stock pop up here quite a bit in the next year or two.